This is your Daily 5 for Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. For the second of our films this week that Lando and I watched, we picked, well, I guess I should say I picked, a 2025 film titled Mr. K. I found this via I think it's Liminal Spaces is that channel name. I mentioned that same channel as the reason I read that Fritz Lieber story, and the individual who runs the channel had happened to mention this film, and it looked different, so I figured, okay, I didn't really know if I was going to find anything else that was going to compare with Nirvana. It was just, that movie just blew the doors off for both of us, but I wanted to find something that I thought might have at least some visual flair, if nothing else. And Mr. K sounded interesting. It stars Crispin Glover, who is an interesting individual outside of his acting, if you ever see him do interviews or anything like that. And so we watched the movie, and it was definitely an experience for people who like art films. It was very, very European, which it is. It's I believe, a French film. Or no, I'm sorry, I saw Netherlands, not French. I think Nirvana was French, Italian, or something like that. But no, it was sponsored by the Netherlands. There was Netherlands and a couple other places. In any event, definitely not an American film. Although I will say, it doesn't end... there was a point where I thought we were going to hit a hard black ending, where it was just going to cut to black and that was going to be the credits. In a way that probably would have irritated a lot of people. It doesn't do that, so I will tell you, it does have an ending. The ending does allow for quite a bit of interpretation. We'll obviously talk about this on Friday in detail, but it is not a no-ending movie. It presents, I think, plenty of evidence of a few ways to interpret it, but it's not completely amorphous and open. I would say it is more... Yeah, now this is the comparison point. It presents a more concrete set of endings than Serial Experiments Lane does. So there's a nice comparison point if you know Lane. It is not quite as open to interpretation as Lane, but it does allow you to decide on a few things as far as what you think the ending means. But overall, beautifully shot. Really interesting color work. Really interesting use of sound design. The performances are off the wall. There's some truly absurd moments. Now, the Liminal Spaces review, the person who runs it had felt that some of the scenes were over the top. Interestingly, I don't think so. I think look, it's an art film. So if you come in and you just know it's an art film, then I don't think anything in the movie is necessarily over the top. But, it does take a certain tolerance of surreal things happening. It's described as a surrealist mystery. I think that is a fairly good descriptor, but I would say if you're looking for a total explanation of what's going on, again, I did say the ending had some interpretation, but I would also say there are things that are just not explained, and you just kind of have to roll with them. Now, I don't think it says, boy, this is great. This is a great movie to kind of use other movies and other creators to compare to. It's not as inexplicable as some things in a David Lynch film, where there are things in David Lynch films that really don't have any explanation, especially if you're talking about stuff like Inland Empire or the third season of Twin Peaks. It's not that far out there, but there's definitely going to be elements where you'll say, well, they never really explained why this person didn't do this. But it's not something that's, at least in my opinion, I don't think it's going to gnaw on you the way some creators, in their effort to keep things very, very ambiguous and mysterious, can put people off. I don't think Mr. K does that. So I'm actually recommending it for people who are in the mood for something a little off the beaten path. Because I think it's still accessible enough for mainstream people who aren't, into, say, Stalker, which is a challenge for most. But I also think that it has enough surrealist elements in this kind of absurdist tone to it that it will be satisfying to people who like artier stuff. So it's an interesting kind of middle ground film. Yeah, and now that I think about it, it's actually a nice stepping stone in the same way that Lost Highway is a nice entrance point for people to decide whether they're into David Lynch or not. I would say Mr. K is a good surrealist film to watch and see if that's too much for you. If it is, then that's probably not a direction you want to go. But if it intrigues you and you're into the art style and you can flow with what the story's doing, then this might be your gateway into some really weird stuff. Weirder stuff, I should say. So again, 2025, Mr. K, I think it's on Amazon Prime and available to rent in a couple places. Interesting, and I would actually recommend it. Later.